Welcome. My name is Nikki Chiappa. I'm the Communications Fellow with Chessa. Today, we are kicking off our Women's History Month Spotlight Series. We're going to be interviewing 5 incredible women in the solar industry. Today, we're starting with Shannon Kilbrew from Ipsen Solar. Welcome, Shannon.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for being with us. So could you just start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and about Ipsen?
Sure. So I'm the Director of Shared Services here at Ipsen Solar. I oversee the operational components of design, interconnection, permitting, and the inspections. So I formally began this role in November. So before I was just managing the interconnectioning and permitting side, and have added on design as well. So that's been pretty exciting for me. So Ipsen Solar is a premier solar company based out of DC, also servicing Virginia and Maryland. And we're a certified B Corporation, we're an Amicus member, and of course a CHESA member as well.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for being a CHESA member, of course.
Sure.
So could you tell us a little bit about how you got started in solar specifically?
Sure. So I was very interested in solar when I was studying sustainability for my degree. And I was really intrigued by energy in general and building design. So after studying specifically photovoltaics, it was just something really exciting for me, seeing the industry grow so much and the technology continuing to grow over time so quickly. Just was, something that I feel like you can never get bored in. So I began my career with Solar City, and I was an inspections coordinator in the Maryland area. And with that, I just really found it interesting, not only being a part of an installation component, but building the relationships between the counties and the solar industry to be very symbiotic and just really kind of having a strong foundation for one another. So after that, I switched over and into a more formal permitting role and just kind of did the same thing, working with the reviewers in office and with us and learning a lot more about design. And again, building that strong relationship to just kind of really grow the industry. I mean, we're growing so much and so fast, and to keep everybody informed and working together in a very professional manner, but with a strong goal of working together, has just been something I've really enjoyed. So then here I am at Ipsen, kind of overseeing all of the different components and still learning something new every day.
Right. No, that's awesome. So inspiring. So as an industry, we do have a lot of work to do being representative of the communities that we're serving. Like you mentioned, you're working all over the DMV. What can you tell us about that experience so far that you've had? And where do you see gaps in the industry that we have today?
I think over the last several years as an industry, we've really pushed, no matter what laws and regulations come into place, that climate change is very real and it's not something that we're willing to back down from. I feel like we're just a very strong working group of professionals that are just wanting for the greater good, and something that's so prominent and strong for future generations. So I feel like for me, that's just something that's just such a great component of working in this industry, is we've overcome a lot over the last decade. So I'm really excited to see what the future is going to bring. Regarding gaps for me, because I specifically work in the role with interconnection and permitting, even the inspection side of it, probably would be like the utility scale, and having to kind of work with the utilities, sometimes fight with the utilities a little bit, and then also having some utilities that are just really about it, and really interested, in continuing to provide green outputs and green energy for their customers. So I think with having SoulSmart come on board and just kind of being a face for, especially through the government to push towards those things, and then continuing to build with the utility scale, is something that I would really like to see a gap just kind of close together a little bit more.
Yeah.
So that would be great for a lot of customers.
Right, right, absolutely. So then I guess kind of bouncing off that question, how do you see the industry growing and changing both in the short term and the long term?
I think just the continuous growth of like-minded individuals developing technology responsibly
Mhm.
um, for climate change. I think having a large city, really like DC, that's continuing to support solar and the applications on their residents, and just wanting to see solar on every roof and starting from that scale. You have a such a broad with residential and commercial as far as, you know, suburbs and the cities, and just having really strong incentives and seeing those strong incentives in the counties even is just really great. um, you know, to see that just kind of building and continuing to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. So then, our last question before we wrap up, what do you hope for women coming in the industry behind you, and do you have any advice?
I would say don't let fear get in the way, specifically working in a construction based industry. No matter what gender, race, even the age that you are, there's a place for you here. We're all just, again, working for the greater good of climate change, and it affects all of us and everything that we do here on our planet. So I've seen other females be installers, electricians, inspectors, reviewers, and every component that I work in as well, project managers, even managing a warehouse. So I think that was super inspiring for me too, was seeing a woman, you know, running the warehouse and the crews and everything. So there's a place for you here. Don't let fear, you know, kind of, and the what ifs scenario kind of, you know, get into your head.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us today. This has been really fun. And do you have any last words?
No, thank you so much. This was really fun for me too, and I'm happy to get to meet you, and look forward to seeing the other women that you're interviewing as well. This is
Yes.
great.
Thank you. All right. Have Welcome a good back, one. Folks. This is part 2 of our Women's History Month Spotlight series. Today we have Becky Campbell with us from First Solar. Thanks so much for being here, Becky.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. So let's jump right in. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and about First Solar?
Sure, absolutely. So I lead First Solar's market development and state legislative and regulatory work for the eastern half of the country. And I've been with the company for about 6 years now. I've been in the solar industry for 13. And First Solar is the largest solar module manufacturer in the US. We're an American company. We were founded in Ohio in the 1990s, and we manufacture in Ohio, Malaysia, and Vietnam.
Oh, wow. So all over the world.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
how do you said you started in solar long before you got here at First Solar. How did you get started in the industry?
Yeah, so my educational background is in environmental engineering, and I started my career working for the state of Pennsylvania as an air quality engineer. I did permitting and enforcement on major industrial projects. And after a couple of years doing that, I realized that it was not nearly as interesting as I thought it would be. And I felt like I wasn't making much of an impact. I kind of felt like I was spinning my wheels. So I had an opportunity to make a move within my state agency to the state energy office, and I took that opportunity. And that's where I really got into renewables and specifically solar. So I joined that office at a time right when Pennsylvania had just approved funding to create a residential and small commercial solar rebate program. And I was charged with kind of developing the guidelines for that program and then the implementation of that. And that's really where I entered the industry. And I think I stayed with it because I felt like I was really making an impact. I could see the tangible impacts from my work, and that was very fulfilling to me. And then I just developed a big passion for solar in particular.
That's awesome. So you've had a really like robust experience in the industry, it sounds like.
Yeah, I've been around for a bit.
So, the series, we really wanted to talk about the female experience in the industry. So do you have any wise words about, your experience as a female, and where you see any gaps in the industry that need to be filled currently?
Yeah, I mean, I think as an engineer, I've been, I think from college on, I was used to often being the only woman in the room, or one of only a handful of women in the room. And I think one of the big things that I always encourage other women to do is to speak up, and not just kind of cede space to the men that tend to fill the room a lot of times in our industry. So don't be afraid to use your voice and share your opinions and your thoughts, and feel empowered, understand your expertise and feel comfortable with that, and make sure to voice that as much as possible. In terms of gaps, I feel like it's been encouraging, especially over the last few years, to see more and more women entering our industry. Personally, I still feel like there's a gap at the leadership level and at the executive level in the industry. You don't see a lot of women in boardrooms or in C-suites at a lot of companies. Some companies have been really good about that. But I think that is kind of the next obvious step for this industry, is to begin bringing more gender diversity into those leadership positions within the industry. I think as a whole, we're starting to become a little more gender diverse, across organizations, but maybe not at the top levels.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have any other hopes for the solar industry, short-term, long-term goals, aside from just diversifying the C-suite?
Yeah, I mean, it's just diversity in general, right? I feel like, again, it can often feel like a very white male industry. And one of the things I really love about working for a global company is that isn't always the case at my company. We've got a global footprint, and I have the benefit of working with colleagues from all over the world, which is great. We've got great cultural diversity, and so I would like to see that more throughout the industry, not just with the global players, but then also looking just beyond that. I think continuing to grow the industry and innovate and look for new models, and how can we continue to hold ourselves accountable and do good. I think most people in this industry are likely in it because they feel the same type of fulfillment that I feel in doing something good and having those tangible results. But I think there are always opportunities to challenge ourselves to do better. And one of the spaces that my team has really been kind of doing some introspection lately is on environmental impacts. And as a manufacturer, how can we continually lower any sort of environmental or carbon impacts that we have on the industry. Manufacturing inherently is kind of a carbon intensive process. And so, I think just kind of continuing to not, sit back and get into a comfort zone, continuing to challenge ourselves and really look for ways to do more and to do better.
Yeah. I love that sentiment. Always striving to do better is such a great thing to live by. So then my last question, do you have any, closing thoughts or words of wisdom for women who are trying to come up in the solar industry right now, trying to break into the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I would say just do it. You know, I think look for other women or other allies that that you can work with and help you challenge you and help you grow in your roles. I'm a big fan of mentoring. I have had a couple of mentors in my professional life for pretty much my entire career, and those are the people that I know when I'm considering a major shift in my career. Those are the people that I call for a voice of reason and for some feedback. So try to identify some people that you trust to kind of serve in that type of role. And I would say just keep challenging yourself. And I personally, and I don't know if this is necessarily because of my gender, but I tend to have what I'll call imposter syndrome, where you've got like these doubts in the back of your mind about whether or not you're in the right place or the right role, or whether you can actually do it. And I would just challenge everyone to be confident, know that you can, and just kind of assert yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that resonates with a lot of women across all industries. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking time to talk with us today. I'm so glad we could do this.
Yeah, thank
Hi,
you.
all. Welcome back. This is part 3 of our Women's History Month series. Today we have with us Cherie Brooks. She's president, CEO, and co-founder of the Power 52 Foundation. Cherie, I'll give you a quick moment just to tell us about yourself and the organization.
Okay. Hi, Lauren. Thank you for having us on here. I'm flattered to be a guest and for you guys to spotlight our organization. So I am a mother of 3 and pretty much Power 52 Foundation. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and our target demographic is the underserved community. Daily, we're fighting for diversity, inclusion and equity in the renewable energy sector. And so what we have a private career school. We are approved by the Maryland Higher Education Commission, and we train individuals to come through our training and program, and then we do job placement assistance. With that, they'll gain several credentials, and pretty much they're shovel ready once they finish our program.
That's awesome. That's work that needs doing in the industry these days. And I'll circle back to that definitely. But I'm curious just if you could talk about how you got started in the renewable industry.
Yeah, so my family, they have a solar development company. They've done solar development for many years. And so with that and me kind of tagging along, I saw that there was a lot of opportunities and not a lot of diversity and inclusion in the sector. And so with that, after the uprising in 2015, I kind of started working with our other co-founders to put together Power 52 Foundation. And so from there, this is what has brought us here. Just the inequities and lack of diversity in the sector, things that I have identified earlier. And so, I wanted to bring forth education to the community, just to let them know why they should want to know and be a part of the renewable energy sector, as well as training for those who, are looking for a career change. And so with that, with the career change from that people are looking for, and maybe they don't even have a career. So the demographics that we serve, they could be returning citizens, vets who are looking for a career, just underserved. Maybe you only went to high school, you are working just a regular 9 to 5, and you're looking for, to get educated and just for a change. So we're here to bring forth that opportunity.
That's great. And actually, the next question we had was, is a lot of the work you all are doing, thinking through how our industry can be more representative of all communities and engage more with all communities and making sure that we're filling those gaps that we currently have. And so I'm curious if you kind of talked about a lot of this already, but talking about the gaps you see in the industry and just what your experience has been so far, because the work you all are doing is incredible in working to fill those and make the industry more inclusive and diverse and equitable, and it's incredible.
Yeah. So our approach is not to just do things here on a local level. We have participated in national platforms, trying to spread the word, and just educate different individuals, organizations as to why they should be diverse and equitable. Because I think a lot of times what we realize is that many organizations don't know that they're doing this, and then the demographics that we target, they don't know what they don't know. So what that means is they don't understand the opportunities that the renewable energy sector can bring forth to them. And so with that, it's kind of like we're bridging the gap. We go out and we speak to the organizations and companies. We host diversity, equity, inclusion lounges at some of the bigger conferences. And so once we, tell our story and let the organizations know that, hey, the people that we're training your future workforce. And so now that, of course, the new administration is opening itself up to green and renewable energy, they're going to need the workers. And so we're taking on the challenge to bring forth, a great opportunity for everyone, not just the individuals who come through our training, but the companies who are going to hire them. A lot of things that when we work together with our employer partners to say, hey, what do you see? What have you identified that you need in a good worker? And then what we can do is take from that and implement in our training so that they are, the participants or graduates are shovel ready and, just ready. They know what to expect. They know what, any given day looks like on the job, and they know what's acceptable and what's not. So they're ready.
That's great. Yeah, it's great to hear full preparation. And I think kind of on that topic, or not being prepared, being prepared, but looking forward, and what do you hope to see in the industry? What do you want to see change, and where do you want to see the industry grow, I guess, both short term and long term?
Well, our hopes is that we will, as an organization, begin to just continue to rally and be an ambassador for the people in the community that we serve. And so with that is having conversations with different employers, and that they're open to, hey, if you have a returning citizen, that they may pull back on some of their internal policies to say, hey, but everyone can change. One of our power principles that we teach is never let your past dictate your future. And so with that, if we're training our participants to, hey, you can have a chance, then we have to train the employer partners to, hey, you can give this person a chance. And then we bring it all together. So our hopes, short term, is that, more companies would be open and willing to do this, and even invite us out to have conversations with their internal staff. Obviously, long term, with, again, the administration changing, we're hoping that more policies will change in the various states to bring forth additional opportunities for the participants, the trainees, and the graduates of Power 52 Foundation. And then also what this would do is create more opportunities with other organizations to support us so that we can train and additional students so that they are trained to what you look like, what a great workforce will look like at your company. And so that's our goal.
Yeah, so getting the message out and education, very
Mhm.
important. I guess to tie this back, since it is Women's History Month, tying it back to kind of that theme, what's advice that you have for women coming up behind you in the industry or looking to get engaged in the industry and in this work?
Yeah. So I think when people first, or women especially, first look at solar and renewables, they think, no, that's not for me. But literally, the more that we're pushing forward, I will say between 2017 and 2019, we only graduated 3 females from our training program. Well, in 2020, up into our last cohort that graduated, I want to think last 2 weeks ago, we were able to enroll 4, graduate 3. Well, we just started a new cohort yesterday, and we have 5 women enrolled. So I'm starting to see kind of like a snowball effect, and maybe it's because that we have been a greater voice. We have targeted women to participate in the renewal, just to be educated so that they know it's not all about the manual labor part. When we put together the training at Power 52, we listen. It's never been my focus to say I want to, have just a bunch of laborers. Okay, so this is why we recently developed Power Pathways, and so that women can see, and everyone who graduates, they'll see there are different pathways in the renewable energy sector. So, some of our women, they have gone off and have done solar installation, but then maybe site surveys, system designs, and that type of thing. So there are so many different career pathways in the renewable energy sector. We just always challenge them. Come, hey, have a conversation. We can educate you and then start you, on the path.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah.
Definitely want more women in the industry and realizing all the different facets of the industry. Well, that's all the questions I had today. I wanted to thank you for your time, Cherie.
Thank you. I hope I was able to, share what we're doing over here, and that, you guys will continue to support
Yeah, you guys are doing incredible work. It's great to watch it.
us. Thank you so much.
All right, folks, welcome back. This is part 4 of our Women's History Month Spotlight series. We're here today with Rachel Clark from Sincarfa. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Yes, of course, of course. So let's jump right in. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and about Sincarfa?
Sure. Yeah. So I am the director of development at Sincarfa. I've only joined the company back in November. I was with a different solar company before then. So I am working on new business development and permitting on projects in, at the moment, 9 different states
Oh,
to
wow.
some capacity. Yeah. Yep. So Sincarfa has been around. It was formed in 2009, and we just have we have a great team. I'm really, really enjoying the company and the culture, and yeah, couldn't say enough good things.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So how did you get into the solar industry?
So it's probably pretty unusual. Someone literally came knocking on my door. I was working from home briefly doing cell tower site acquisition. And someone knocked on my door seeing if I wanted to sign up for community solar. And it was a mission-based business based in my own hometown. And I saw on the back of her clipboard the certified B icon for mission-based businesses. And so I'm definitely like-minded, and so I invited her in for a cup of coffee and offered to recruit my neighbors, or she wanted to host a neighborhood party. So I mean, she was asking for that, and so I certainly rolled out the carpet to do that. And the more her and I got talking, and she learned about my job, my career, she said that they needed someone to be doing site acquisition for commercial scale arrays, and so that's how I got in. My first interview, the CEO of that company was talking about, power purchase agreements and so on. I had no idea what he was discussing, what that meant. So it's been a great ride. Yeah, I learned a lot.
Yeah, that is such a unique journey.
Yeah.
So through this series, we really wanted to focus on the female experience in the solar industry because it is so unique. So do you have any words of wisdom kind of about your experience as a woman in the industry, and are there any gaps that you see that we need to fill?
Yeah, absolutely. Something that's really positive that I've seen that I'm excited about is there are, a good number of female entrepreneurs and women in leadership positions. So Crystal Hansley at We Solar, Stila Sine Bernie at Citrine, Annika Colson at AC Power, and Lynn Jurek, of course, at Sunrun. So that's very exciting. And then women in the nonprofit sector doing advocacy work, like Abigail Ross Hopper at SIA. So just really exciting to see women leading, and they're in all industries, but in solar as well. So that's really great. Something I see as a gap is we need a lot more diversification. The industry is very white. Certainly what I see is women's entry point is like professional women have an easier time getting in. I see a lot of opportunities for, lawyers and policy wonks and finance people, but less so for, women. There's obviously women are really underrepresented in engineering and construction. And so I just see a lot of opportunity there, as well as women like myself that are professional women to have more career training and development to keep going in a field like engineering where they might not have gotten coursework back in the day.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
do you have any short and long-term goals for the industry moving forward?
Short term, I'd love to see, continued growth of low income solar, just because that's such a way to democratize who's able to receive our product. And, right now it does tilt towards, more privileged communities. Also would like to see more scholarships and recruiting at like HBCUs for, diversifying people getting into the industry and getting training, right from the get-go. So that would be some important goals, as well as, of course, like the grid needs reinvestment. That's just something nationwide for our country to continue to see more solar penetration. So just really looking forward to seeing policies moving towards figuring out that huge enigma.
Absolutely. So my last question, there's a lot of women who are looking to break into the renewable energy space. Do you have any words of wisdom or closing thoughts to help women, get there?
Absolutely. Yeah. The two things I would say, from the point of view of women trying to advance their careers, I would say reach out. Certainly something that's helped me my whole career is, people like to talk with people. They like to share their story and help others. And so, people are, especially in this day and age where everyone's working from home, people want to connect and they want to pay it forward. They want to bring others through doors that they've been able to open or were opened for them. So I would say reach out and don't be shy. Really reach out to people on LinkedIn or however you can get hold of their email or phone number. The more personal, the better. So the phone is better than email, and email is better than a message on a social media app. And really invite people to share their story with you in a one-on-one way and hear your story and how they can help you. And then from women who are in positions of leadership, I would say helping to get more women onto corporate boards and into the C-suite, I think is really important. So I think helping one another in that way, callbacks. I remember reading about how in the Obama administration, women made a point to comment on one another's feedback in a meeting room so that people felt, especially if they were underrepresented, felt comfortable giving comments, feeling like their comments mattered and were validated. Mm-hmm. So I think steps like that are really important, on a small scale, like in the actual room. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for taking time to talk with us today. And thank you to everybody who's tuned into our series so far. Tomorrow is going to be our last interview. So tune in again at 2:00 on our Instagram to see us wrap up this series. All right, welcome back. Today we are closing out our Women's History Month Spotlight series with Jasenia from Solar United Neighbors. Welcome.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So let's just jump right in. Could you tell me a little bit about yourself and about Solar United Neighbors?
Sure. I am the Director of Energy Equity and Inclusion at Solar United Neighbors. So my job is working on solar access and knocking down those barriers. Solar United Neighbors is a national nonprofit. We have field staff in about 12 states. We focus on helping folks join together, go solar, and most importantly, fight for their energy rights.
Yes, we love that so much. So how did you get into solar?
That is a very interesting story. Well, at least I think it's interesting. I was actually working as a housing counselor during the foreclosure crisis, and I started to notice that a lot of the families that were facing foreclosure also had these really ridiculously large utility bills they were struggling with. So even if we could help them and get them a mortgage modification, they still had really large utility bills. And so I started researching what programs were available, ways to help these families. And I came across a few solar programs. They weren't going to help the families at that moment, but I started talking more and more about solar, especially with the first time home buyers, and just started digging into solar and how it could actually help low to moderate income families get a little bit more control over their utilities. And when Solar United Neighbors was looking for a director to help expand the Solar for All grant they had, I immediately jumped at the opportunity of still doing community development while working on solar and reducing that energy burden.
Yeah, that is such an incredible story. So, kind of in the same vein, as an industry, we have a lot of work to do to look more like the communities that we are serving. So, could you speak a little bit to that and how you see the industry evolving and hope to see the industry evolve in the short and long term?
Yeah, I definitely we need to continue working on reducing those barriers to solar. I think uh, solar adaptation by brown and black communities, even when you account for income, even when you account for ownership status, is still behind. So we need to do a lot more to reach out to these communities and make sure they understand and have the options to go solar. We need to move past solar and the perception that it's only for the wealthy. That it's only that it's a niche. We need to move past that if we want to make sure that solar is part of the answer. It's part of that transition to renewable energy. So, and it's not just about getting more folks to go solar and helping them with the transition, but also opening the industry in terms of jobs. Like we need to diversify who's in the field, because it's not just a checkbox that you mark. It's like, yeah, diversity, we met that goal. It's like it really does matter, because all of these policies, all of these laws, they're taking place. They don't happen in a vacuum. And when you don't have that diversity in the room where these discussions are happening, you're gonna miss the effect they have on real people, because your life experiences are different, and you need to have that diversity of experience in the room when the decisions are being made, so that everyone that's going to be affected by these decisions has a say in that.
Yes, absolutely. So throughout this series, we've been trying to focus on the female experience specifically. Do you have any thoughts about how we can, as an industry, improve the female experience? And how has your experience as a female in the industry been?
I will start with my experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the first time I walked into an industry meeting and I looked around the table and I started counting how many women were sitting around the table. Thankfully, that has changed a lot in the last 4 years since I've been working in solar. We've seen more and more women join the conversation in all sorts of jobs. It's like, it's not just putting panels on the roof. It goes from everything from designing the systems, from customer sales to engineering, permits, absolutely everything. I know, and it's really nice to see that it's like getting more and more women into the field, more women of color into the field, and in all sorts of places. We're not talking just about the jobs on, like I said, putting the panels on the roof, but all the way up to the C-suite, and we really need more of that. Yeah. What was the second part?
Oh,
Sorry.
well, no, I think you spoke to it already. Just we have a long way to go, and you've experienced that. And it's great that you've seen growth. Certainly throughout the series, we've talked to, several women who've said the same thing, that there's a lot of promising growth in who we're seeing in the C-suite and and all over the industry. So do you have any advice to close out for women who are hoping to get into the solar industry? And do you have any hopes for them as they embark on this journey?
Yeah, don't be afraid. It can be challenging. But it's such, I mean, the work is so rewarding, and you know you're making a difference. So just jump into it. Try to get your feet through the door whichever way you can, and just work up to where you want to be, but also don't be afraid to speak up. And I say this as somebody that has had to overcome that. It can be very intimidating being in the room and having an opinion, and your instinct is to bite your tongue and just like fly under the radar. But we don't need that. We need to speak up. We need to share our opinions, because you may have a life experience that's unique and a point of view that no one else at the table has. So it is important that we share that and that we speak up when we see something, because if we don't, then we're never going to change. We're never going to move forward in progress. So.
Yes, absolutely. That's such good advice for women in solar and women in every other industry, because I know that is such a shared experience for
Oh yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's hard. It's like, especially for me, it's not something that comes naturally. I rather fly under the radar and, just sit in the background. But there are times when I realize that I have a seat at the table and not everybody else has that seat at the table. So I have a duty to speak up for folks that I know what they're going through and how these policies are going to affect their lives. So if I don't, no one else is going to. So that's how I see it.
Yes, I love that. What a wonderful note to close our whole series on. Thank you so much again for being with us. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in for the extent of this series.
Thank you, Nicole.